Hello and welcome to A Cup of Tea with Dr. Zee, where we share everyday stories with you, everyday women. Are you ready to hear heart-to-heart key issues that we all face, no matter where we are in the world? So grab your cup of tea and let's welcome your host, author, international speaker, reinvention strategist, and woman that's full of faith in God and mankind, Dr. Zena Arinze.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to another episode of A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Z. You are really welcome to the show. And do we have a fantastic show for you today? Oh my days, I am so excited. So excited. If you're just dialing in or you're watching wherever you're watching from around the world, just put in the comments where you're dialing in or where you're watching from. I'd love to know which part of the world you are. Please, just share. We'd love to know. And also, I just want to tell you that today's episode is all about climate change and mental health. And I have an amazing guest. I can't wait to bring her out from the green room. But before we do that, I just want to quickly share with you, if you're new to the show, you'd be wondering, what is A Cup of Tea with Dr. Z? Some of you might know me personally, or even if you don't know me personally, it's really what it says on the tin. It's all about spotlighting amazing, phenomenal, everyday women all over the world. I don't know why I'm stumbling over my words. All over the world, doing extraordinary things with extraordinary stories, with extraordinary passions. And today is no different. I started this on the 8th of December last year, and it's almost up to a year. I can't believe it. When you're having fun, the year goes so fast. And we know that, there are other things going on. There are wars and cost of living crisis and all sorts of things. And I've had my own fair share of, crisis, as you would say. But we're here. And as long as we are alive, there is hope and there is passion, there is commitment to make sure that you put your best foot forward to help your fellow man. And if you happen to be a woman, I don't care where you are around the world, I want you to know that you are enough. You are enough. Whatever you're going through, you are enough. Yes, I've just put it on there. If you're listening, you are an extraordinary woman and you are enough. I'm not particularly special. I'm just like you. No, I'll say that differently. I am very special and so are you. I am exceptionally special and so are you. Another thing I just want to say really quickly is one of the reasons why I do this show. It's a passion project of mine. No charge to you to watch wherever you're watching from or listening to, even if you listen on the replay. But it's for you to know that if someone else can do it, so can you. And it might not be exactly the same thing that particular woman I'm interviewing is doing or has achieved, but you can also achieve. You might be in your front room, you might be at work, you might be on the train, you might be looking after your children, you might be even going down the aisle as we speak, or perhaps you've had a very bad experience and you think that, oh my days, I can't do it, I can't go on. I want you to know that you are an extraordinary woman and someone is waiting for you to show up. So that's why I do this, so that everyone can have a voice or a platform, or if you're just listening, you can listen and be inspired and motivated to really get out of that rut and make your difference and make your life count. Oh my days. I am so incredibly excited. So my next guest is truly an amazing woman, an extraordinary woman, just like you. And I can't wait to I'm going to read a little bit about her so that you kind of get, I put some in the copy, but I want you to get a flavor of who this amazing, phenomenal, incredible woman is. Dr. Mutshidzi Mulondo, and I've probably murdered her name. Mutshidzi, we actually practiced this. Dr. Mulondo is an award-winning young global leader and a health academic whose interests are in mental health and health equity. As a Mandela Washington Fellow, she established a critical public health partnership with the Appalachian State University, North Carolina, USA, which led to a successful collaborative research projects and grant awarding. After being awarded an impact-oriented grant by the United States Embassy, she became a public health visiting scholar at the Beaver College of Health Sciences, upstate USA. Dr. Mulondo has helped establish the first division of public health at the University of Free State, South Africa, where she currently supervises masters and PhD students. She champions science diplomacy, where she is also a member of the UNESCO Action Group for Women in Science. She joins in enhancing the visibility of female role models as a youth delegate in the high-level once-in-a-generation summit of the future at the 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York, USA. For her commitment to effecting real global change, she's recognized as one of Young World's ambassador. In 2023, she became the only South African, did you hear me? The only South African selected globally by Novartis as part of the 10 Reimagining Healthcare Scholars to the United Kingdom. There's so much about her, and I'm just going to read, but what I want you to know is she's extraordinary, she's distinctive, she's unique, and she is an exceptional rising star. And without further ado, I want to take her. I can see her laughing in the green room, thinking, what am I saying about her? What am I saying? But without further ado, I'm going to bring her out from the green room. Drum roll, everyone. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. You're thinking, why is she? Oh, Dr. Zina's always excited. What's she on? I'm not on anything, just the Holy Spirit. Welcome, Dr. Mulondo. I know I murdered your first name. Please forgive me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Zina.
You know, you're extraordinary anyway. And when I met you, we kind of fell in love with each other. So this is a love that is so strong. But one of the things that I love about you is your passion, your commitment, and your humility. So I'm going to start by asking you some questions. And as always, I don't script them. So if I've put you on a spot, please don't be, you're equal to the task. So I'm going to start with a little bit about your personal journey. Now, I know your career has spanned various countries, parts of the USA, obviously South Africa, the United Kingdom, and other places. And I want to know, how did you start? Can you share a bit about your journey? What inspired you to pursue a career in mental health, health equity, and climate change? I know you've heard this question in some form or the other, so you should.
Dr. Zina, let me just start off by saying thank you so much for the wonderful invitation to partake in this wonderful community. I think for me, one of the things the people that are joining in might not even know, but before we even started this phone call, Dr. Zina was actually praying, and I was there. I was just like, I love it already, the attitude and the spirit of it all. I'm already excited. So I even loved what you were speaking about when you started off, and how you're motivating ladies to not compare themselves and to actually feel they are enough. And I feel comparison is where danger comes in, and comparison normally steals joy. It's so important for a person to just find your own lane, stick to your own lane, and keep on doing what you are supposed to be doing in this life. I get the sense that if we are competing with each other, we're never going to be happy. We have got different strength. Everyone is here in this world to do what they're supposed to do. And if you just stick to that and perfect what you are called to do, then you become brilliant. And then there's no need to even compare yourself. And in fact, I agree with you, Dr. Zina, that then you become extraordinary, because then you are perfecting what you're called to be doing. Absolutely. And so just then jump on to the question. So, and also to just say good evening from South Africa. So one of the reasons why I got involved in health, in mental health, and all of that, I actually might probably need to step a little bit back and start off by saying both my parents were in the health field, in one way or another. And so I grew up watching both of them being so passionate about healthcare. And so it was quite inevitable that at some point I was going to get involved in that my own self. Actually, initially, when I started off, I wanted to study psychology, which I did end up studying. And I mean, what was very interesting, and maybe this might be an encouragement to someone, when I told some of the extended family members that I wanted to study psychology, I was actually discouraged. I remember being told, why would you want to study something that everybody's studying, And then I was pushed and forced into studying medicine for that matter. So my very first year of university, actually, I did medicine, not because I wanted to, but because I was discouraged from something that I wanted to do because apparently it wasn't extraordinary enough. But when I was in it, I remember just thinking, no, I'm not going to continue studying something that I don't want to study just to prove that I'm brilliant. And so I decided while I was in there, one day I just deregistered, and I only called everybody at home. I'm like, hey, by the way, I deregistered and I'm now doing psychology like I wanted, like I wanted to do.
I
And
love it. I
I
love
think
it.
it was at that point where I was just like, I don't care at this point. I want to do what I'm called to do and excel in it. And to speak to exactly what you were saying, when I got into it, I excelled so well that I was getting distinctions after the other, getting awards after the other, because now I was in my own lane.
Absolutely.
Whereas in comparison to when I was doing medicine, I was trying to prove that I'm brilliant, right? But
Mm.
now when I was in something that I'm called to do, you could tell my joy in it. You could tell the excellence. I didn't need to be woken up to study. I didn't need to be woken up to participate in extracurricular that had to do with my studies because
Mm.
I was actually now in my lane. So
Mm.
that's actually how I started off in everything health. And I have been in it in different ways, in different forms. And of course, the older you get, you start to discover different ways and
Yes.
in ways
Yes.
in which it connects to other things. Now I'm finding myself even in climate change. I didn't even start in that, but the reason why I started off in climate change, about 2 years ago, I attended the One Young World Summit in the UK. And I had a very shocking statistic, Dr. Zina, where I heard that about 75%, over 75% of our young people are despondent because of the future due to climate change. And
Yeah.
when I heard that figure, when I was sitting, I was like, no, 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 I need to figure out what's going on. How do we secure and protect young people? Because really, quite literally, not only are they our future, they are our current. And so anything that has to do with protecting young people, I'm always in the forefront of, particularly where mental health is concerned and just in general where health equity is concerned.
I'm just listening to all the things that you've said, and especially when you say, when we're talking about young, for someone like me, when I'm talking about young people, yes, they are my future, but you're absolutely correct. Young people are also our current. You happen to be one of those young people, and you are my current. And when I see people like yourselves, excelling, staying in your lane and really being committed to that lane and wanting to learn new things as well, but not just wanting to learn new things, but wanting to make a difference, it warms my soul. And you're absolutely correct. The older ones, I mean, I only kind of started taking an interest in climate change because of my children when they're in primary school. I wasn't really, and I'm sure there are lots of people my age that were like, we didn't care. We didn't care. And then suddenly, you had a 6-year-old or 7-year-old that will tell you don't fling something out of the window, or your plastic containers are not good for the environment. And the sun does this and it's hot in winter, like today was warm, yesterday was cold. And you start to, take an interest, and then you suddenly realize that it does actually impact you as a person. Now 10 years, 15 years later, those 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds are 26 and 23. So I'm now understanding that climate change isn't something that some green people are talking about and protest. It's something that affects me. It affects the way that I do things. It affects my mental health. So it's absolutely wonderful to see someone like yourself that everywhere you go, you touch. And then listening to you saying, stay in your lane. You may be listening to this right now. Perhaps you are in university, or you're planning to go to university, or perhaps you have children and you want to push them down a particular lane. This is a very good testament of the fact that when you find what is yours, you will excel in it. And like she said, Dr. Mulondo said, when she woke up, she'd love to go to study. It wasn't something that she needed to be pushed to. She did, and she excelled. And that's we need to encourage ourselves to find things that we are good at, things that we like to do. It doesn't have to be what everybody expects, and especially if you have African parents where, and Asian parents as well, where that push to be academic, it's fine, but we sometimes we push our children into things that really they have no business doing. And some people begin to find themselves in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s and 70s, when they could have found themselves at 18. So, but sorry, I could talk about that forever. It's just when you were saying that, I was just thinking of so many things. I was thinking of my various house fellowships and the kind of advice I need to give to people. Oh, I don't know why my child is not good at maths. Because maybe your child doesn't want to do maths. Maybe your child is an artist or creative. That's where the money is. Just let your child be what he or she wants to be, and you will have an extraordinary, phenomenal woman or man in the current. I like that when you said the current. That really blew me away. Right. So my next question is, obviously you're a woman in STEM. You're a woman, focused on equity, global leadership and all that. And so the question I want to ask you really is, you've already touched on the fact that there's a mental health crisis. It's all over the world, and we're all trying to put our head under as if it doesn't exist. But it was so interesting to see that you'd come for something completely different, and you listened to that stats. I was interviewing someone last week, Wendy Amexo. We were talking about why data is so important. Data is so important. We should not ignore the data. So talking about that, with regards to data, I know that, and you know as well, that women, and we know, UN SDG goals and all that, but women are still, here at the bottom. We're affected by everything, whether we're Black women, whether we're white women, whether we're African women, we're affected by all sorts of things. And I want to ask you, thinking about that, how do you, in your opinion and from your studies, see the linkages between climate change and mental health, especially with regards to women?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. And I actually just want to go back to some of the points that you were making. The African Union defines youth as anybody under the age of 35. And so one of the things that is quite important that we must continue to do, and this is why I stress this point so much, we really need to protect our young people. And I'm counting myself in that statistic as well, right? It's quite important that even when we're talking about mental health, we get them involved in this sort of conversations. Young people are actually dealing with a lot more. It's quite different from young people who are now older. Right. Back then, there was no social media to expose you to a lot of the things that are happening right now. When we're talking about climate change specifically, and we see that even in Africa, where I'm coming from, in South Africa specifically, how we have a city, KwaZulu Natal, or a province, where we had flooding at one point about a year ago.
Yes, yes.
And people were displaced, and they lost their homes, and they lost their houses. And in a research that I was involved in, that I conducted with Appalachian State University, we actually found that a lot of young people are actually suffering from PTSD. They are wondering and worrying about whether or not is something like that going to happen again, right? Am I just going to wake up one day and then my whole entire family, my entire house is flooded, and I have to start from the very beginning? Is that what is going to happen to my life? And that's why when we start hearing people who eco gaslight essentially and tell you that there's nothing wrong, there's nothing good, climate change is not an issue, this is where young people actually start to get so panicky about it, because then they start realizing, okay, this is concerning me. This is the world that I'm going to inherit. And you are telling me that nothing is going on when I have experienced flooding. And when I was in the UK, by the way, when we met, I did share that we, for the first time in one part of our city in South Africa, we had snow. And of course, I mean, that sounds like something that is quite small. But if you do not have, for example, shelter that covers you for when it is cold, that cold, right? If you grew up your entire life and you are in a place that's always humid or always warm, then you probably don't even have heaters in your house. And now all of a sudden it starts to snow. That affects you. It affects you financially. it affects your health as well. So we start realizing that some of these things we can't continue to put them aside and think that it's nothing to be worried about. We're seeing it impacting people's lives. Those people, usually a lot of people who have got access, right, who you can just easily switch on your aircon and turn it to heat, you are fine with something like that. Or if you've got a house that's insulated, etc., you are fine. But we also still need to worry about that those who may not have the access. South Africa right now is regarded as one of the most unequal countries in the world. And some of you have probably seen the image where you can see this very part of the world where it's very part of our country where it's green and luscious, and then there was this part of the world of our country
Yes.
that is quite arid and dry,
Yes.
right? This is
Yes.
quite and this is not just in South Africa. This is in most part of the world. And this is why we speak about health equity, where and in the very definition of it, health equity is about the very fact that every single person deserves healthcare irrespective of their socioeconomic
Absolutely.
background. So
Absolutely.
every single person deserves to be advocated for, irrespective of how you grew up and how where you are coming from, your background. It really doesn't matter. And so these are the kind of conversations that we talk about. And now when we are coming over to women as well, women have always carried the burden of mental health because of the things that they carry, the
Yes.
issues that they carry. They
Yes.
are
Yes.
holding households. I mean, in most countries right now, women are the ones that are running households,
Yes.
unfortunately. Right.
Yes.
And so as a result of that, mental health cannot be something that we can continue to just shun away and push it aside and say, oh, no, this is not an issue. Get over it, just sleep through over it and whatever.
Yeah.
All these advices that we give,
Go for a walk. Go
go
for
for
a run.
whatever this advice is, we really need to start looking at it quite deeply and support women as well, not just saying we're supporting youth or young people, but also supporting women as well. We need them. They continue to be the backbone of our society, even though we can say that men should be, but most men are not stepping up to that. And currently, unfortunately, women are the ones that are currently the backbone, and so we need to continue to support them and their mental health moving forward. And so right now, when we're talking about climate change, it affects them because then they're the ones that, I mean, I can only speak about my own environment, with the very fact that women in parts of my country are the ones that are still going to rivers and going to collect water for their families.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, of course, with things like that wave, now there is snow and now there is flooding. How do you continue to take care of the young babies and the young kids in your house, right?
Yeah.
And so we need to find ways of not only supporting women who have got access to healthcare, but even those that do not have access. And this is where I come in as somebody who works in public health, where I'm always going into the community to figure out and find out how do we continue to support even those that are marginalized and who are at the far end of hospitals or the far end of clinics, who cannot even have access to something like that, where you quite literally have to jump over and pass through a river to get to the nearest hospital. And even when you get there, there's only one doctor, there's only one psychologist. And so we are trying to figure out ways in which we can continue to support every single person in the very auspices and the very belief that we cannot afford to leave anyone behind.
Behind. Absolutely. You say this so eloquently, and it's absolutely true. When you were just to take you back, when you were talking about snow in South Africa, I remember I was in a meeting. I happened to be the chief wellness and health officer for the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce, which is actually nothing related to you, but actually situated in South Africa. And I was in a meeting, and I remember someone was wearing a cardigan, and I'm like, it's really, really cold. I'm like, don't be silly. What do you mean it's really, really cold? It's I'm in the UK, it's summer here. Why can't you say it's really cold? And I couldn't compute. But but this is a very good example of where what we once knew is not the same anymore. What we once knew is not the same anymore. I remember here in the UK, normally by now December time, it's really, really cold into January, and then but there was one year, I think 2 years ago, where it was warm, and then you were trying to figure out, do I put my winter coat in the garage, take it to the dry cleaner, do I not? And just when you're about to put it away, it's cold again. So things are happening, and we have to take cognizance of it. And you're absolutely correct. No one needs to be left behind. There are so many different layers. In a couple of days' time, it's going to be 16 days of activism. for violence against women and girls. And obviously the UN slogan is going to be one in three, depending on where you are in the world. It could be 1 in 3 in USA, 1 in 3 in South Africa, 1 in 3 in UK. So 1 in 3, or one in every 3 minutes, meaning one woman or child, female child, is killed, femicide, every 3 minutes. And this all relates to climate change. It all relates to how, mental health issues. It all relates. And unfortunately, I like what you said, unfortunately, because it doesn't affect men in the same way, these are not the things that are really on the forefront. We talk about, oh yeah, we need to deal with mental health. Yes, we need to deal with climate change. But my question is, are we passionate about it, or are we committed to it? They're two different things, and I could I'm interviewing you, so I'm trying my best to, not to say all the different things I want to say, because this is something that I'm really, really passionate and very annoyed about, really, but let's keep it, on a level. I just want to quickly shout out to hello Fikile from South Africa, Shanita from America. You've told me I think you're from Maryland. I got it wrong. I know it's not Maryland, but hello. Sally from Bournemouth, someone from Nebraska, Melanie Robinson, greetings. I don't know where you're from. Thank you. Kate from Kent, thank you so much. Tola from Essex, Michelle Lynch, all the way from Red Hill, thank you. Someone my playlist, don't know your name, from South Africa. Stella Anene from, I think I know you, from Luton. And Kate, so thank you. And everyone else who's maybe you're watching on YouTube, or you're watching on LinkedIn, or you're watching on Instagram or Facebook, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time out on a Friday evening, if you're in my time zone, or in an afternoon, or if you're in South Africa, you're probably an hour ahead of us. Some of you are having your dinner or getting ready to go to bed, but thank you so much. Now, my next question is that we've talked about mental health, and we haven't done enough. We can't do it justice in 45 minutes. But I want to ask you, in terms of solutions, what do you think we can do? What are some actionable strategies? I can see you're shaking your head, because it's like, we need her as president of the world now. Dr. Mulondo as president of the world, shaking head. What are some strategies that we can perhaps put in place that will really help to integrate not just mental health support, but also in terms of, climate adaptation policies, especially for the regions that are affected the most, like on the African continent, for instance, we know, and other places around the world?
I absolutely love this question, because then it brings me back to saying this Ubuntu. And I don't know if people know, the audience knows that term, but it's an African term which just means I am because you are, right? And it speaks to the very idea of the fact that we need to go back to being a community. Now, the one thing that Africans are very good at is being a community. I know with most of the other Western countries, they're very individualistic, but with us, we're able to band together when one person is going through something. And this is actually what we must go back to. We must be able to realize that we cannot continue, for example, to eco-gaslight and say nothing is going on with the very examples that I've been giving right now. We need to start to band together and to say, what can I do? What is my part in this particular situation? What do I continue to do? There are many things to do. I know, for example, there are usually calls when they're talking about, okay, there's an ocean, for example, an ocean beach that needs to be cleaned up. Or what can you do? What is that one thing that is being done in your community that you can get involved in knowing that you are also doing your part in ensuring that the planet is safe and planetary health? That is quite important that we get involved in things like that. And this also takes me back to what I was saying as well. When we speak about climate change and the very issues that impact us, one of the reasons why some people usually go towards talking about saying this is a non-issue is because they are able to adapt to the changes that are happening, right? If you've got access and if you've got finances, if, for example, there's snow, like I was saying, you're able to just turn up your aircon and life continues, right? there's flooding, maybe you've got money to move somewhere else, you've got money to fly somewhere else. But that is not the experience of everyone. There are some people who, when there is flooding and the house floods down, that's it. They've lost everything. They've lost their entire livelihood. This is all they were working towards. And so we also need to look at it as well in terms of displacement as well. When you are displaced and now you have to, you can't find a hospital that's close to you. And let's make a very an example. You are a pregnant woman, and this is where we come back to women right now, right? You're a pregnant woman, and there's climate change, there's flooding, there's a wildfire, whatever is happening that is as a result of climate change. You cannot get to a doctor, you cannot get to a hospital. What happens to you and your child as a result of that, right? Even when there's displacement, it actually, one thing always leads to the other, because now when there's displacement, now you can't get your medication, and now we start seeing diseases also being passed one to the other, right? We see this even right now, where we are wondering, and why is for example, mpox, right, moving so quickly in our countries, right, in Africa specifically. And this is because of things like that, where people are being displaced and now they cannot get to the healthcare that they so desperately need. And so we cannot afford to keep ourselves in our own silos and in our own cocoons about how I'm fine in my part of the world, I don't need to worry about this, it's not a big deal. But we actually need to go back to the thing of community, the very concept of community, that if one thing is affecting one person, even if that is not in your country, that it should in some way be able to impact you as well. We saw this actually during COVID-19, that
Absolutely.
COVID didn't even start in Africa, right? But somehow we were all impacted as a global community. It
Yeah.
started in a very different continent altogether. And then it was moving from one continent to the other, impacting all of us. This is how we must be able to move forward. We must be able to learn from the experiences that we have as young people, that when, not even just as young people, but as a human race, be able to learn from one experience, that
Yeah.
the lessons that we learned in COVID-19, where we realize that we are supposed to band together as a human race. This is what we are supposed to do as well where climate change is concerned. How do we band together? How do we ensure that nobody is being left behind, even where mental health is concerned? Sometimes, and it's not all of us that are going to be able to afford to go to a mental health facility. Mental health facilities are expensive everywhere, whether or not you're in the global
All over
north or
the world. Absolutely.
it's incredibly
And
expensive
the
for
stigma. And the
every.
stigma. And the stigma.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, I mean, we find that sometimes one of the things that a person just needs is just to have one person that is going to listen. That's
Yes.
one of the ways that we are able to tackle mental health issues. One person we can say, "Are you okay?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about it?" Even if you don't have an answer or a solution to that thing, but just to have that person have a mental release of whatever that issue is. And
Yes.
this is where community once again comes in. The very idea that we must be so concerned about our neighbor, be your brother's keeper, your sister's
Yes.
keeper, be
Yes.
concerned about how somebody
Yes.
else is doing. Because some people really could die because of just
Yes.
silence. Nobody cares about me, nobody's concerned, everybody's just worried about what's happening in their own life. But if we go back to the sense of community, that what is happening to my neighbor concerns me, the very same way that we saw that during COVID-19, if it's affecting your neighbor, very soon it's probably going to affect you as well.
Yes. It's interesting that you should say that. Here in the UK, excuse me, here in the UK, we have um in the winter lots of old people, very, very old people. I mean, I'm an old woman now, but very, very old, old people, pensioners. They live by themselves. They're isolated. Maybe their children have left home, or they've, they don't have any children. And many of them, because of the point you were making 5 minutes ago about in the West, living a more individualistic kind of lifestyle, me, myself, and I. And the disadvantage of that is much later, you're by yourself, you're isolated, you're lonely, no one to talk to. Sometimes I remember years ago, this is probably about years ago, and I was much, much younger, just out of uni, or maybe in uni, and I used to work on the help desk, doing surveys. So the stats, ask people questions, what, how many, and all that. And we had to you're supposed to speak to a person, a survey, you tell them, you'd lie. Oh, it's only going to take 10 minutes. It doesn't take 10, it's about 20 minutes. But you kind of know. So you know the questions you're going to jump over. How old are you? Once they tell you how old are you, already know you're not going to do the classification. So you jump over that. quickly and your manager doesn't know. But there's always going to be one or two old people who have never ever spoken to anyone. So you're trying your best to do this survey in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, so they can go on to the next one, go for lunch and be on the top of the leaderboard that you spoke to how many X amount of people. And you have this old lady, poor bless her own old man, and they will just talk and talk and talk and talk, and you couldn't get them off the phone because you are the only person that's spoken to them for 2 weeks. So you're asking every single question you're asking them, they're answering the question and asking you a question on top. And you're looking at your leaderboard, you're kind of going lower, 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 lower. But the thing is, that sense of community, that sense of not being left behind. And so, even though, the examples you gave from Africa are really, starting, my parents are from Nigeria, so it's the same thing. But it's all over the world where people are left by themselves. And if you can just have one person that can speak to you, sometimes you go to the supermarket and you're just standing in the queue and you just smile, and all of a sudden you're having a long conversation with someone and they're telling you their entire life history. You might be in a hurry, but you just have to stay. And that gets to the next question in terms of what can we do as individuals, because we're all in a hurry. We all, don't seem to care enough unless it's your sister, your child, your husband, your community. But we can step out of ourselves and really be that listening ear on the train, on the bus, on the aeroplane. Give a smile and someone will open up. You could stop someone from taking their life just by smiling and listening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's actually very interesting is that where imprisonment is concerned, right? If a person is being imprisoned, when they put you in solitary confinement, that is the harshest form of punishment.
Yes.
Because human beings are not meant to be alone. We are made for community. We are made to be together. So
Yes.
if even the prison system realizes that if we put this person alone for 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, we know that we are really going to break this person. Can you imagine being amongst people and still feeling alone? And that's why there's in Zimbabwe, there's a concept that they started, or a project that they started, and which I recently learned about, called the friendship bench, where grandmothers, specifically, you're speaking about the older generation just now, grandmothers actually go and sit there. And then if you are whoever and you just want to talk to somebody, you go and sit in the same bench and have a conversation, because they realize that the conversation is very important. Like I was saying earlier on, just having somebody listen to you, being somebody who is interested in you, in your life, that you are okay, that you are doing okay. That's one thing that we can all start doing.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't even need to go far. You don't need to go and travel to another city, to another country. The very people that are in your very circle, ensuring that you're actually asking somebody, are you okay? And actually wait to get the response, because we are in such a hurry in life these days, right? Wanting to just say, oh, I greeted, right? But sometimes take a moment to really find out, are you really okay? Are you fine? I can see there's a change in you. I just want to make sure you're okay, and be actually interested in that person's life. Let's take a moment to be interested in other people's lives. Earlier on, you also spoke about gender-based violence and how very soon we're going to have the 16 days of activism as well. This is where actually the sense of community comes in as well. We watch movies, right? And how there's a woman next door in your own house experiencing gender-based violence, but you don't know about it, or you do know about it, but you are unconcerned about it. And one of the things that we can start doing, and this is solutions to a lot of things, listen to the person, right? Listen, have a conversation with the person, offer them options of what they can do. Do you want me to do something about it? Do you want me to help you? Can I refer you to somebody? Do you just want me to listen? So we must be able to give people options. We must be able to still leave people with autonomy, unless really if the person is in immediate danger, then obviously you need to do something about that immediately. But you also need to give people autonomy to be able to decide.
To make a decision themselves. Yes.
Absolutely. But the only way you can do that is if you are interested in that person and their well-being. And so we need to really go back to that as a community and as a human race, where I'm concerned about the next person. Be worried about somebody else and not just yourself. What is life, quite honestly, if the only thing that you are doing in this world is just about you? They say that actually people may not remember the things that you do or even say, but they will remember how they felt when
Yeah.
you were with them. And so
Mm.
it's about that. So let's make sure that we are making an effort to make sure that the next person, my neighbor, is okay, my sister is okay, my brother is okay.
Mm.
In fact, while I'm even on the brother topic, they're even showing that research right now that men are actually, where suicide is concerned, is rising actually in men.
Absolutely,
And that,
absolutely.
that's probably a completely different topic altogether, but it just goes back to the very idea that we must be concerned, brothers keeper, sisters keeper, and ensuring that we continue with the community, the sense of community.
You made a very, very, very good point. I was speaking to someone the other day, and they were just mentioning how much the rate of increase with regards to young men. So young men, between the ages of 20 to 30, really experiencing, mental health challenges, and no one to talk to. Obviously, the stereotype: you don't cry, you don't talk, you don't, so they're really, really, really struggling. At least, and I don't like the word at least. Brené Brown talks about not using the word at least when you're talking about empathy. So I'll try and use a different word. But when it comes to women, we still have that community to some extent, much more. We would share. So we would say, oh, I've got a lump on my breast, for instance. We would share that, whereas a man would not share that. And so uh, there's a lot going on around the world. And I guess if we really step out of ourselves, social media, the phones, I'll give a good example. We all do things that we don't know that we are complicit in the problem. Now, when I go out with my older daughter, she has this policy where you shouldn't be on your phone. She really, really hates it. We go out for a meal. None of us should be on our phone. None of us. Now, she's never on her phone when we go out for a meal. And I am sometimes on my phone checking, I need to check, my client has said this, or, checking something. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And I put it down. So I'm kind of aware of it, and I don't do it as much. But I thought it was a her thing rather than a general thing, but it's something that she doesn't like. She was telling me the other day, she goes out with some of her friends, and some of her friends do it. She doesn't like it. But her friends know. Now, I went out with a different friend recently, and I was trying to post something on LinkedIn. And she was late. And so I said, okay, I'll just sit down while I'm waiting. And I was just doing, I was in the flow, and I hadn't saved it anywhere. I was just, and then she came in, and I'm like, just give me a second, I just want to finish this, and then I tried to post it. And when you do LinkedIn post on your phone, sometimes it doesn't always work, and it was just spinning. I was so upset, and I hadn't saved it, so I tried again, started again. So that took me about half an hour. That was half an hour of our time together. Now, she understood that I was trying to post this, and then when I told her later on, do you know that when I got home, it didn't even work? I was so upset. But she was suitably upset because this was time that we had carved out to spend together. She might have been late and I was there before, but that's not the point. So the point I'm making is that even in things like that, when someone needs your time, whether you know them or not, give them your time. I'm using this as an example because I think it's always important to be vulnerable and to give examples that people can relate with. So it doesn't look like, oh, Dr. Zeno, Dr. Mulondo, all up there. And, we are mere people. No, all of us are complicit in not showing people enough attention, but we want it back when we're going through our, oh, no one has asked me, but what are we doing? How are we helping? And it doesn't have to be someone that you know. In fact, it's better if you don't know the person, because the person will know that you've gone over and above to know what's happening to him or her. Knock on your next door neighbors, your church, your mosque, whatever. How is everything? I don't just wait for people to say it's well or it's okay, because that's a cover up, But anyway, let's leave that. You've represented South Africa at the United Nations Summit of the Future. How important is it, in your opinion, to have women at the table for these discussions, especially with regards to we've touched on it already, but I just want to delve down a bit more, especially in terms of global health and climate change, to ensure that the things that concern us is actually being addressed and not being swept under the carpet.
That's a very beautiful question. And before even I get into that, I just wanted to touch on the point that you were touching on. Actually, in fact, the Bible says that he who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. And that's actually one of the ways that we can make sure that we are doing okay. Refresh others, make sure that other people are doing okay, and you will in one way or another start to feel okay yourself by saving other people. And when it comes to the idea of women in leadership, I feel in any case that women should be in leadership in all positions, whether or not it's in the UN, whether it's in the WHO, because nobody can speak about our issues the way we can speak about our issues. For example, right now, I've been watching Halle Berry, for example. She has been in the forefront of talking about menopause. And
Menopause,
I
yeah.
was, I was even speaking in my own platforms, and I'm like, I can't imagine men are sitting somewhere thinking about effective therapies for menopause. Why would they even be thinking about something like that? That is something that only a woman would be thinking about because it's affecting them, because they know how they are feeling. And that's actually one of the main reasons why it's quite important that we have got women around those tables who are talking about their own health, because we know what we are feeling. The
Yes,
same thing when we're talking about tampons sometime, right? Only a woman can tell you, but this is very uncomfortable. Can you find an easier way so that I do not
yes,
have toxic shock? Only
yes,
a woman can be thinking
yes,
about something like
yes,
that. And so
yes,
if we only have men around tables, even making decisions where women are concerned about our bodies, then they're not even going to be able to touch on the issues that we are really experiencing. And that's
yes,
why we need to be around the tables ourselves, advocating for the issues that are impacting us, that this is what we need. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm experiencing. This is the sort of help that I need. And only women can be able to do that. And that's why we continue to advocate for women in tables and around decision making tables specifically. One of the things that we've been so loud about pushing forward for is the very fact that we have never had a secretary general that is female in the United Nations. I don't know if
yes,
you are
yes,
aware of that.
yes. I am very much aware of it. Yes,
And this is really a call that we are pushing for. In the many, many years that the UN has been established, no woman has ever been in a senior role, except right now we've got the deputy, of course. But we need to actually start pushing even on that platform, that high platform, just on that level, so that we quite continue to able to push for women in positions of power. Even right now, I was reading statistics about how in the countries in the world, we have about what 192 countries in the world. Only 26 women are in positions of influence or heads of states or
yes,
heads of government.
absolutely.
26
Yes,
out of
26. Yes,
192
yep,
countries.
yep,
That is terrible. That right now in the 21st century, you can still be saying things like that.
yes,
And so,
yes.
and it's not because women are not capable. In fact, research is even showing that when women are in positions of influence and positions
We're
of power,
better.
we actually the peacemaking is actually it goes up, because we are able to negotiate for peace. But
Yes.
when men are in power, this is why we have got war upon war upon war
Yeah.
upon war. But we need to continue to cultivate and support women when they get into these positions as well, because sometimes what we do is we push women into the positions, they get there, and we are the very ones that start to tear them down and not support them. So not
Absolutely.
only must we capacitate women to get into these positions, but when they do get into these positions, we must be able to support them as well in ensuring that they are able to advance the causes that we believe in.
I like that, I know I'll probably take this offline because you're touching on things that I want. Oh no, oh no, oh okay, Holy Spirit. Okay, let's but yes, absolutely. I'm so anti men deciding and anything to do with me, whether how I use my body, whether I'm a pro-choice person. I'm a Christian, but I'm a pro-choice person. It's my decision. If I've done it wrong, that's between me and God. But don't even start me off. I believe that if a woman has come to the forefront, you may not believe in what she believes in, and that doesn't matter. I said this year, long before I had this show, probably long before COVID. I remember there was a the women's march that they do every March, I think, in America or around the world, and women, all different women were marching for things to do with rights about women, different, and people march for different reasons. And my view is, as long as you are a woman, if you're there marching, even if I don't agree with what you're talking about, I will support you because you are a woman. We're never going to have, I'm a Christian woman. So some of the things you talk about won't be the things that I like. But because you are a woman, I cannot tear you down, because I know that people have fought for you, for me to have that platform. People tore their bras, they did all sorts of things to be where we are now. They may not have been my people, but when it comes to, women, where we are today, we were not here 50 years ago, 100 years ago. I have a podcast, for crying out loud. Who am I to have a podcast? We've got Kamala Harris vying for presidency. That would not have happened in the 60s. At the very least, you'd be someone's wife. So you'd be like, Jacqueline Onassis or Jacqueline Kennedy. So you'd be a lovely woman, but you'd be a pretty woman, but you'd be someone else's wife. But today, you can do those things for yourself. When Hillary Clinton tried, they did everything to tear her down and she didn't make it. So what am I saying? We have come, this is our time. I went to a mixed secondary school, and, we were just as bright. In fact, most of us were brighter than the guys in the class, and they didn't like that. And nothing has changed. We are very, very bright. But what we need to do is that we need to believe in ourselves, because we tend to, as women, when we get into positions of power, because our male counterparts are very competitive. Even if they don't know what to do, they would go forward. But if we have just even a slight, they said you need to have 5 different things to qualify, and I've got 3, we'll disqualify ourselves, and your fellow women will disqualify you as well. Whereas a man would have nothing, and he would go. But I don't know. Just I'm talking about things. I'm going off tangent because this is something that I'm very, very passionate about. But let's bring it back to you, because I want to make sure that people around the world are able to drag as much out of you as possible. Siphon all your information out. So, if you had a superpower and you could solve one global issue, because then we've got loads. I don't even know where to start. The show today was to be about climate change and mental health, but we veered into all different things because they're all intertwined. But if you had one superpower, Dr. Mulondo, and you could solve one global issue overnight, would you choose to fix climate change? Would you choose to end all health disparities? Or would you invent a chocolate that's both healthy and endless? And whatever you give, tell our audience why. And she's smiling. She's a chocolate baby. She's a chocolate baby.
Oh, no.
I didn't even offer you a cup of tea. Do you want some tea? Sorry.
I have it ready.
Oh, great.
I love that question. But one thing that I also just wanted to speak about where women are concerned, and specifically where feminism is concerned. Feminism is not about turning women into becoming men, for example.
No, not at all.
Feminism is about choice, right?
Absolutely.
If a woman chooses that what she wants to do is to be a stay-at-home wife, for example, a stay-at-home mom, she should be allowed to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
So it's not for us to be able to dictate to her that, oh no, why are you not going to the workplace? Why are you not doing what you want to do?
Yes.
Because as women, we are also very different. We are not the same, right? It's not one term where all of us must be able to want to stay at home, or all of us must want to be able to go to the office. So we must allow women to have choices, and that's what feminism is about, to give women a choice of whatever you want to do with your own life. That's the beauty of it. And as women, like you were explaining as well, where imposter syndrome is concerned, and I know this is a term that we are going to keep on talking about, because we actually need to start dealing with it, particularly as Black women, because we are holding ourselves back. It's one thing that I keep on telling myself as well, that I am not going to wait until I'm ready. I'm going to get in the room and fail forward.
Yes,
That's
absolutely. I love that. Fail forward.
You keep on keeping yourself outside of the table, outside of the fence, outside of the room, because you are waiting until you are 100% perfect, opportunities are going to pass you by. If people around you feel you are ready to be in the room, be in the room, observe, learn what you need to learn, and then move forward, learn with that lesson, take it forward to the next room. This is how I'm able to do so many things that I'm doing right now, because I'm not waiting until I'm 100% of anything. In fact, every single day, I have moments where, Dr. Zina, to be quite honest with you, where I sit, I'm like, I just don't think I'm qualified for this. Am I qualified to be at the United Nations? Really? Can I do that? But I get in the room because I got the opportunity to do so. I'm not going to wait and 5 years from now thinking, oh, you messed up with that opportunity. Why didn't you go there? I go there and I observe and I learn, fail forward, and that's it. And this is how has helped me to able to get to the point where I'm at. And so you asked me about if I had one
There. I have to put it in there. I spelt it wrong, so the people wonder why has it got double G's. But I want people to let me change it. I want people to know. Don't wait. Don't wait until it's perfect. Stop waiting for perfection. Stop
Absolutely.
waiting for perfection.
Absolutely.
Just go in
Absolutely.
there. If the opportunity, I love that. I love that. Even if you don't take anything else from today's show, people, if you happen to be a woman, if you're a black woman in particularly, stop waiting for perfection. Don't wait until you have all the grades. Don't wait until you have whatever it is you need to have. Just if you have an opportunity and access has been provided, a door has been opened, even if it's been opened just slightly, it doesn't matter. As long as it's been opened a smidgen, just go forward. If you fail, you can get up. But if you don't
Absolutely.
go forward, you've missed that opportunity. And
Absolutely. And
wait,
really that's the lesson.
yeah,
That's the lesson of everything. Because I mean, if we must continue to wait, I'm often told you've done so much at such a young age. And that's because I'm not allowing myself to wait until I am, I don't know, 45 years old for me to start doing something. I'm gonna do it now because I'm in the room. In fact, we need young people to be around the rooms, because we are the ones that are gonna be taking all these policies that are being decided on to the future. So we must be able to sit around the tables and understand what is going on. What are you deciding on that I am going to inherit?
yeah,
Because whether or not we want to or not, as young people, we're inheriting this world with the
yeah,
decisions that are being made right now. And if we continue to sit back and say, oh no, I'm gonna care about it, actually doesn't impact me. There is no way. We're actually seeing today how so many decisions that were made years ago are impacting us today. And so we must allow ourselves to able to be in those rooms, particularly as Black women, because we remain underrepresented in so many sectors.
in
And so we
every
must be able to get into those rooms. As women, just in general, we are underrepresented in so many spaces. And so when you do have a chance and people give you the vote of confidence, even if it's one person, get into that room with that one confidence that you are getting and do what you're supposed to do. Learn from the people that you're supposed to learn from. And this is where intergenerational collaboration is so necessary. Have somebody who is older than you, who you are able to look up to. Consult with somebody, because sometimes as young people we can also be accused of wanting to go in the forefront, not knowing, because of naivety, just doing things that we want to do without knowing, okay, this is the impact of what you're doing. But have somebody that you're able to consult with, an older woman who's doing what you are doing, and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, I'm going forward with this, what do you think? I know you probably did the same thing. That's how we're able to move forward with intergenerational community. And so I do want to respond to your question, Dr. Zina, about
Can
what
I just
I do.
respond one more quick, just on that point, intergenerational. Absolutely. I'm from a different generation from yourself, but it even helps us. And for as many older people, women, men that are open to it, you will be refreshed. So it's a win-win for both sides. You're a younger person, you collaborate with an older person, you refresh him or her with new ideas, fresh ideas, different ways of doing things, and at the same time the older person will give you the benefit of experience of, these are areas you don't cross that bridge. I went across that bridge 5 times and I kept on falling. You don't want to do it. Oh no, I know. No. Trust me, if you go down cross that bridge, you're gonna drown. I almost drowned. And so and you find it's magic. I happen to the power of 13 3, the power of 3 and 30 is based on that. It's intergenerational. We are three amazing women, different generations, different age differences, and we've come together as one, and we are doing amazing things. And so absolutely 100% on point, Dr. Mulondo. If you're young, get in the room with an older person. If you're older, get in the room with a younger person. Don't feel too big. Don't feel too precious. There's so much for all of us to learn and grow together and make our world a better place. Now, back over to you. You have to answer that question. I'm not going to let you off.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, the trick, Dr. Zina, is not to go around asking for a mentor. Can you be a mentor? Ask the right questions.
Yes.
When you ask the right questions, you will get the right person to answer the questions for you.
Absolutely.
Right? That is the trick. Because if you're looking for, nobody wants to think they eat in the end all in your life and they're your mentor. But if you're able to ask enough questions of that person, you will be able to find the relevant person who can mentor you through whatever decisions that you're making, whether that is in your career. Because by the way, you don't have to have one mentor. You can have mentors for different aspects of your life. And so you can have a career one, an academic one, etc., depending on what you want to learn and areas that you want to grow in. And so I do believe in that regard that we really do need each other, younger and older, for us to be able to pass on the knowledge, for us as young people to be able to pass on the innovation. Because as young people, we are incredibly smart. We are inventing things
so fast.
Yeah, exactly, one after the other. And so older generations also need us as well for the innovation that we are bringing, just like we also need the older generation for their wisdom and for their lived experience. If we really must bring forward the very topic of sustainability, we cannot sustain anything without young people, right? And so we need to be able to work together to ensure that we're able to solve all the issues that we have. And so if you must ask me what is that one superpower that I want to have, it's not going to be chocolate. With those, if you're giving me any other option, chicken wings, chocolates,
oh,
maybe.
I didn't do my research properly. I should have said chicken wings. You know, every black person likes chicken wings, they say.
I'm a chicken wings person. I think the audience members that are coming from South Africa, they'll tell you about chicken licken. That's what we have. It's one of the best things to have.
All right. When we're offline, I'm going to ask you more about that.
Absolutely. So absolutely, I think health disparities. I think that was one of the options that you gave as well. That is my line of work. And so for me, that is the one thing that I would want to solve, to ensure that every single person has got access to healthcare, irrespective, honestly, of whether or not you've got the financing or not. You must be able to be treated with the same dignity that a person that has got money is treated, as you are, who doesn't have the money. So all of us must be able to be taken care of. And so for me, that is one thing that I really, it's my calling. It's where I feel my energy goes into. It's where I become passionate, is where I want to fight. And I think that's where you realize you've got your own calling and your own purpose, something that keeps you up.
Yes.
Quite recently, actually just yesterday, we actually finally launched our first division of public health at my institution. And so that is one thing that I've been working on for the past 3 years, to capacitate people, or rather young health practitioners, to ensure that what the lessons that we learned during COVID-19, that we are ready and we are armed and we've got our health systems ready and strengthened. And so this is where my work comes in, where we are ensuring that we supervise masters and PhD graduates, ensuring that we've got enough public health researchers to be ready for whatever pandemic might come or whatever outbreak might come. We must be ready and we must be in the forefront. So that's the work that I'm doing. That's the one thing that I really would want to solve, and be able to continue to fight for. So that's me, not chocolate.
I like that, not chocolate, not chicken wings. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, we're coming on to the hour, and I could talk to you forever, but I know that we're in different time zones, and I know you literally just got back from work and jumped on. So I'm going to be mindful of your time so you can relax. But we've talked about superpower. We've talked a lot about very, very serious topics. And we didn't really get to touch them as I wanted because of the time. Because all of them are just, we could do a show on just one,
Absolutely.
just one. But I'm so grateful that you've come and you've really shared from your heart. So I'm going to ask you some final thoughts. But just before I get there, just to lighten it up a little bit, what's one thing that will surprise people about you if only they knew? So apart from your professional achievements and stuff, maybe a secret talent or something really quirky or hobby, apart from health disparities.
I guess the fact I don't have a secret talent, unfortunately. Although I do really love dancing. So in South Africa, we have got a genre called amapiano.
Yes, I know that. Yes.
I'm embarrassed to admit,
So
but
can you
that's
dance it?
say that again.
So you could dance it. So you're just like it's similar to Afrobeat, similar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's actually it. So
Yeah.
I cannot dance, but I when I wake up, I like to act like I can dance and all these dances that young people come up with. I like to keep up with that. So it's one of the things that I really enjoy. In fact, when I'm traveling, if I can, I sometimes even have like a small speaker with me, particularly when I get to the location. And I love just music. I love experiencing other cultures, music as well. So it's not a secret talent, but it's one of the things that I don't think people know about me, that I really just enjoy dancing and just being free. So I enjoy that so
See
much.
that. See this amazing, extraordinary, brilliant, phenomenal, incredible woman, Dr. Mutshidzi Mulondo, is a dancer. I love it, love it, love it, love
But I love to dance.
it. It's all in the eye of the beholder. You might think you can't dance, some might think that you've got a lot of rhythm.
True.
Anyway, final thoughts. Looking ahead, what excites you the most about public health, especially in terms of addressing both what we've spoken about, mental health and climate change, or climate resilience rather than climate change?
Hmm. What one thing that really excites me, and this is something that I was really thinking about, and it's not really just only about health, but I am so passionate about young people, and I am so confident that one day we are going to be in the forefront. Once again, I'm going to refer to the Bible once again, that the Bible does say that those who were the last will be first. And I
Yes,
believe that even where Africa is concerned, that we might be in the back end of a lot of things, but I do believe in the ingenuity of our young people, that we are ready. We are ready and we are pushing and we are fighting. I'm in so many groups right now, Dr. Zina, where I can see young people being involved in ensuring that they're capacitated. When I was at the UN just a month ago, one thing that we actually witnessed, for example, was that a lot of young people from Africa could not even make it into the US because of visa regulations, because
yes,
of funding,
yes,
all of these things. And some of them even had funding, but because of visa and immigration policies, couldn't even make it into the room. But one thing that I realized, and this is where Ubuntu was coming in, was how those who were in the rooms, what they started doing was they started taking minutes live from the meetings that they were attending and sharing it with those who are at home to ensure that
Ooh,
nobody is left
no one's
behind.
left behind.
And
Ooh,
I'm even getting chills even when I say that, because I realize that as young people, we're ensuring that we are coming into these positions of influence and positions of power. In fact, the SG, the Secretary General of the UN, even said that power is not something that we're gonna ask for. It's not power is something that we're gonna take as young people. We are gonna make sure that we are ready to ensure that we are in the forefront of the lot of the issues that we're experiencing. That's why even some of us, whether or not we're talking about age is so irrelevant right now. The very fact is that we are capacitating ourselves, we are
absolutely,
getting ready. And so a
absolutely.
lot of the issues that we failed in, for example, where COVID-19 was concerned, we were caught unready and we
Yes,
lost a
yes,
lot of people.
yes.
But I am confident.
Needlessly,
I
needlessly.
I'm confident though that we are gonna get ourselves so capacitated and so ready that when something like that, if ever it hits us again, that we are gonna be in the forefront of it. And as Africa, I can feel and I'm confident of the fact that it's gonna change around for us. That even though we are last in a lot of aspects, but I'm confident that God can turn around and change things for us, where one day we are going to be first in a lot of the aspects. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Just it's not so much about one area, but about everything that is concerning Africa specifically. In they're even saying that in 2030 we are going to be the most populated.
Yes, yes,
1 in 4 is going to
yes,
be an
yes,
African, and
yes.
so as a result of that, we are in the forefront, and so we are ready for it. And I'm seeing it in the many groups that I'm involved in, that we are bending together and ensuring that we are going to be in the forefront of a lot of decisions, and a lot of changes that are going to be impacting our world.
I love this. I love this. I really wish that we could speak for another 3 hours. You're probably fall asleep. I'll probably fall asleep and wake up, and then we'll say, yeah, where did we stop? But this has been absolutely phenomenal. I have so many other questions I have to bring you back. I'm going to ask you to yes, you've passed the vibe. I'm going to have to bring you back, but I'm going to ask you probably you tell me, and not today, what you want to talk about. I'm not going to choose this time, because this was so powerful. There were so many, it could have gone in so many different branches. I was just trying my best to keep, I'm like this, so I'm trying my best to, okay, Zena, so thank you so much for sharing your expertise, for sharing your passion, your commitment, for sharing your worldview and your commitment to ensure that the world we live in is a better place, for doing your bit, and not only doing your bit, but being in rooms where other people just like you are doing their bit. This is so heartwarming to me, and I'm sure that my people that are, the audience that are listening right now, and those that will listen to the replay, whenever that is, 10 years, 20 times, whenever, will always feel so inspired by this. And I'm hoping that in my lifetime, you might be the next UN general. We never know. But thank you. Any final words you want to say before we go off air?
So for me, honestly, Dr. Zena, is just to say thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful session that I had with you. I'm hoping you can still hear me because I see you're frozen. But just to say that I feel particularly honored to have joined this conversation. And I hope anything that I said was able to touch somebody, even if it's just one person, for you to be able to just go forward, stay in your lane, continue to push forward, whatever it is that you feel you're called for, whatever your purpose is. Your purpose is grand and is big because it's you who's doing it. Yes. So we don't have to compare. We don't have to compete. Just continue to do what you are called to do. And when you're in the room, just get in the room, do what you're supposed to do. Even if there's only one person who's giving you the vote of confidence, go forward and allow yourself to fail forward. Just learn and fail forward. The more you're learning and you're moving forward, you're growing, you're moving into a different arena. That's how we grow, by trying something new, something different, something that even scares us. One of the things that really helped me, and this is a book recommendation, actually by Shonda Rhimes, The Year of Yes. That book changed my life. It allows you to say yes to anything, even if it scares you. Yes. Try it. If somebody invites you to come and speak, even if you're not a public speaker, I must be honest, I was never one to say yes to things like this, Dr. Zena. I consider myself an introvert, in fact. But I read that book and I said yes to everything. If anybody invited me, whether or not it was a grand stage or not, I would say yes, even if I was shaking. That's actually what she was saying in the book. Even if you are shaking, even if your voice is shaking, just do it. You learn. And the more I kept on doing them, the more I got comfortable. Now I don't say no. Like whatever stage you call me to, I will say yes, even if I'm shaking, but I know I'm going to be okay because my voice is also valuable. And so that's the advice that I could give to anybody. Just say yes. Say yes even to the things that scare you the most, the job that scares you, that you feel you're unqualified for, the tables that you think you're unqualified for. Get in those rooms, even if you're shaking, even if you feel underqualified, and then you will learn when you're in there. So that will be my final words to anybody. And really, once again, I really hope anything that I said was able to change you, and that will really just go back to the very spirit of Ubuntu, and that I am because you are.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Mulondo. This has been absolutely fantastic, absolutely incredible, phenomenal. Lots of things to mull over. I will listen to, I don't normally listen to my replays, but I will listen to this one. We are, or I am, because you are.
Absolutely.
You're listening wherever you are around the world. You are because I am. You are enough. You are special. You are extraordinary. Say yes to yourself. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Say yes. And even if you've been saying no in the past, from today, the 25th of October, 2024, start saying yes to yourself, and you will see things will change for you and for me too, because when you change, it affects me, even if you've never met me. That's what life is all about. Thank you so much, Dr. Mulondo. Thank you, people, for listening, for watching. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant Friday, wherever you are. Until next time, this has been A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Zee.
Thanks for listening to A Cup of Tea with Dr. Zee, your reinvention queen. We hope you've been motivated and inspired to go out there and conquer any obstacles and issues you may face. You can find Dr. Zena on all social platforms. Until next time, remember, you're